there's a scripture that says, when I was a child, I thought like a child, I spoke like a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. And, I feel like we live in a society and in a culture where as we get older, because we missed out on some things, whether it was because of trauma or poverty or whatever, we go back to our childhoods to kind of like validate our childhood. One of the things that I've been thinking about recently over like this last month is my older kids. Every so often, I get a chance to be able to kind of chat with them whenever they come over for family lunch on Sundays. But like sometimes we talk about some of the old days um, and what it was like before they graduated, moved out. And this week, I was thinking about my oldest boy, Corbin, and I'm so proud of this kid. He is teaching at a private school. He is got healthy relationships with friends and his mom and dad and his grandma, and there's so many beautiful moments and things that I'm proud of him for. But one of my favorite memories that I have with Corbin is like right whenever he moved in with my wife and I got a chance to like really start walking him through puberty and all the different effects and feelings that you start feeling during those moments. And I remember that he was starting to have feelings for this girl, and it had him doing just some super goofy stuff. And so, I pulled him to the side. I said, "Hey, man, what's going on? Some things are changing in the way that you're responding in certain ways, and you're seeming to be a little bit more emotional. It seems like you're kind of moving into what manhood looks like, and it just comes together as maturing in some ways that emotionally you've been immature in." And and so we started to talk through some of the things that he was kind of going through at the time and trying to figure out. And what we called these times that we were having, and I really need to implement it with my younger two boys, but we would have these things called man talks. And we were talking about things that were surrounded by the experience that men have, the pressures that men have, the ways that we're able to navigate through some of the challenges of being a man. And it's not just for the sake of venting, but it was also for an opportunity for me to be able to kind of like pour into Corbin as a young man. And I'll never forget some of these moments that we had because some of them ended in tears. Other moments like that ended in inspiration to change the way that we handle certain things, to regulate our emotions. And I remember like my now oldest boy in the house, Izzy, wanting to have these same talks. And so as me and Corbin were having these conversations, Izzy would slightly open the door and be like, "Can I get into the man talk?" And so as long as it was age appropriate for Izzy, then I would slide Izzy into the room, which Izzy and Corbin are 10 years apart. And so there's a lot that Izzy wasn't able to be there for. But he would slide in there and get little bits of wisdom and nuggets and things like that. And, you know, different ones of us have different life experiences where we learn how to be men. For some of us, we learn how to be men through watching our fathers treat our mothers in certain ways, watching men in our community be respectful and shake hands and show appreciation. For some of us, the way that we learn manhood is through our moms because maybe dad's not around. There's all kinds of different life experiences, but regardless of how it is that you come to know what a man is supposed to look like and navigate through, there are four things that God put on the inside of all of us. He put into the lives of everybody. And those four things are love, character, provision, and protection. These are four things that all people have to navigate through in some capacity. I think whenever people are asking the question, what is a man, that it can be the wrong question in some situations. I think the real question that we're asking is, according to what God has equipped us with, that we've been born with, through the life that we have been given, what value does the role that I'm supposed to play, that I'm equipped with, what value does it have? Mentally, physically, and spiritually. And so we're just going to run through these four categories of life. I got some notes. And so that way we make sure we don't miss anything. So love is one of the most important parts, if not the most important part of manhood. We see different examples of what love looks like, both in media and in real life. We all know of that one man in our life, whether it's our dad or it's a family friend, or maybe it's somebody that you hear your mom talking on the phone about being no good. But we know at least one guy in our life that is known for hopping from girl to girl, and then potentially having children in different areas that they don't take care of, right? And so for some people, it is accepted as like a normal. But one of the things that I've learned over the course of life is that just because something is normal doesn't make it healthy. And so we also know, hopefully, this is my heart's desire. Hopefully we know at least one guy in our life that is somebody that, it's not that they're super popular. They're not somebody that's super well known in the community. They're not somebody that is famous or has a lot of money. But we know that one guy that works his butt off to make sure that his family has what they need, whether it's a blended family, it's a separate family, or whatever the situation is. We know that one guy that is going to work faithfully, can keep a job faithfully, might be the guy that is known for fixing cars in the community, might be the guy that is known for making sure that his kids have the nicest shoes he can afford, have the nicest clothes, that it's some capacity where he is showing that he cares about his family. He cares about the mother of his children. He cares about those that he's in a close relationship with. And so we have two different showings of love and two different priorities of love, right? And so what healthy looks like is giving our best version of love that, according to what we're equipped with, that we can give. That might look like when dad gets home, a kid running up and throwing their arms around dad and saying, "Daddy," and being just as loud and rambunctious as possible. And even though that dad has just worked a 12-hour day, he's still down on the floor playing, or he's still outside shooting hoops, or he is still filling the blank with whatever. That love that's healthy might look like a dad just walking up behind mom and giving her a big hug and smooching, right? There's all kinds of different ways that we can show that love is being represented and represented well. Some of the ways that we can tell that love is not being represented well is constant impatience. That love that's not being well is not having faith that your kids can do certain things. Some ways that it might not be shown well is not spending time with the kid, not when we have the time to spend with the kid, deciding that we're going to go off and do something else that's just for us. It's not to say that we don't ever get breaks, but these are just some of the consistencies that we can see. Physical fighting of our kids, or physical fighting with others. There's all kinds of different things that can show that, like, that it's not genuine love, or it's not healthy love, I guess we could say. Character is another one of those things, right? It kind of ties in with the kindness piece. In love, there's different categories like that we can kind of show our love for the people that we care about. And it's like in our faith, in persevering or keep going whenever things get difficult, in our toughness to be able to protect our family, our friends, our kindness, our generosity. These are ways that we can show love. In character, we can show our character through our honesty, through the self-control that we show to be able to handle situations in a way that is both healthy and makes the people that we have surrounded ourselves around, confident in our desire to make sure that we're showing up as the best version of ourselves in those different situations. And then in our patience. When it comes to provision, it can be things having to do with food, our health, making sure that we're maybe running with our kids, eating the right types of foods, or even taking care of ourselves, encouraging those that we love to take care of themselves, providing guidance, kind of like the man talks that I was talking about that I had with Corbin and with Izzy as they were growing up, being an opportunity to be a part of the peace of the house or the completeness of the house. Actually, just this week, I was having a conversation with my youth group and we're talking about the fruits of the spirit, one of them being peace. And in the Greek, peace, part of the definition is completeness. And so whenever we as men are peace to our communities, we're peace to our families, what we are is we are a part of God's vision to be part of the completeness of the family structure of the community. And then the last one, protection. Man, I don't know how many conversations that I've had with women over the years that like over what a guy looks like, over even the amount of money that the guy might make. If they can feel protected with a young man or a man, they can overlook a lot of the other things and they can help walk through the rest of the different things, right? Protection, whether it's number one, physically, they feel like that the woman is not going to be doing the boxing, even if she may be able to, but that the man can take care of them physically. Whether it's spiritually, that man is going to be in prayer. He's going to be serious about his faith. He's going to be looking for things that can spiritually affect his family and his friends and try to give advice on how to navigate through those situations. Resources, going back to provision, like resources help to be able to provide. And it's not necessarily just about finances. It can also be resources of social capital, right? The people that you surround yourself with, that even if they can't give you money, they may be able to fix your car. They may be able to help you move. They may be able to help you know where to get the next job or where to be able to start when it comes to having a house, or, fill in the blank with a lot of different things. But when it comes to manhood, these are all things that we have to start navigating through. And the best way that we can start preparing ourselves to do well in love and in character and in provision and protection is by putting ourselves around people that are doing it well. Not necessarily perfect, but you can see signs of them growing in their love for the people that are around them. You can see signs of maybe them starting out as liars and becoming more honest, or those who struggle with self-control and indulgence, and their priorities start to either quickly or slowly shift. Even little growth is still growth. Those that are becoming more patient, even in provision, you see a man that is starting out and he's living with his parents, and before long, maybe over a year, 2 years, you see him be able to save up enough money to be able to buy his own house, be able to take care of his own food. He's no longer going to mom and dad's refrigerator and going shopping, but he's going to the grocery store because he's made plans. He has consolidated his debt. He's started to pay that debt off, like that. He is working towards being more healthy in the type of interactions that he has with people, to where he completes the calm within the context of his community. In protection, you see that it's not that he's not ever fearful, but he's not going to back down on an opportunity to be able to protect his family through resources, spiritually and physically. And so for some people, that's in their house. And for me, one of the things that I'm going to stand on is making sure that if my kids don't get an example of what a healthy man looks like, that it is going to be me. If they don't go to school and they don't see good examples of what healthy men look like in love, character, provision, and protection, they're going to see that at home. Something I'm consistently telling my kids is, it's going to be okay. And it's not necessarily just because I've got all the tools that I need right now to take care of my family, to take care of my kids, to take care of my friends if my friends need me. It's not that I've got all the things that I need physically in my hands in the physical form of resources, but I do serve a God that owns cattle on 1,000 hills. I serve a God that is going to give me the wisdom, that's going to help me to connect the right dots, be able to build the right relationships in order to be able to provide the things that my family needs. And maybe for you, you don't have that. Maybe you don't have like these moments where you see examples of strength in men. Maybe you're a young lady and you are looking and you're like at the point where you want to give up. You're like, man, I know I should be looking for somebody who shows me healthy love. I know I should be like trying to date somebody that's not just trying to get straight to my pants ASAP and then ditch me. But it didn't seem like I can find anybody who's willing to do that. Hold out. Hold out for that relationship. Hold out for those friendships and build up your social capital in a way that you can bounce ideas off of the people that are close to you. You can say, hey, these are some of my goals for a healthy relationship that you know of. Does this person kind of fit that? I've been thinking maybe they do, but I know I've got some blind spots here and there. That's why it's important to build up your community and not just build up your community with people that are living unhealthy lifestyles and don't have any plan on changing those unhealthy lifestyles. But that's why it's important for you to build communities with a wide variety of people with different life experiences that are going to help introduce you to the healthiest life that they can possibly introduce you to. And you may be introduced to some of the things that I've just talked about in different ways. You may have different examples that come from different aspects of life. But the most important thing is going to be that when you decide, and it's got to be your decision, when you decide that the example of manhood that you want in your life is going to lead you to health, then you have to position yourself. Something I was thinking about earlier today was this group that I used to be so excited when they would come to town. They were called the Power Team. And in the Power Team, it was this group of 15, I want to say like 15 guys, 15 to 20 guys that were all bodybuilders, and they would break bricks, set the bricks on fire, break them. They would break ice. They would run through blocks of ice. And then at the end, they would give like a gospel presentation, right? They also went into schools and they talked about drugs and alcohol and premarital sex and some of the ways that it could negatively affect your future. But anyway, one of the biggest things that I got from them was like that, number one, you could do cool things and still serve God. But number two, another thing that I saw was that their positive influence impacted a ton of people. But that wasn't the only thing. That wasn't the only way to be able to have a positive impact on a bunch of people. Man, I've got some people that are heroes of mine, right? I'm a youth pastor, and I've been a youth pastor this year for 8 years. And before that, I was a children's pastor. And, some of the most impactful people that I met over the course of my life are people that will never be known on a worldwide basis. People like Kim Garino. She's a pastor out in Indian Springs, Nevada, and she is transforming that community. Another person that I think of when I think about like a local hero is my dad. My dad will probably never be known as like a nationwide pastor, a worldwide like influence, but he made the impact on so many different people that he was just connected through regular relationships. They watched him be a dad. They watched him be somebody who was positive, that had a solid job, that was serious about his education, that was serious about all the different things that are important in love and character, provision and protection. And it transformed the dynamic of what their relationships would have looked like over the course of their lives. I think about people like, now, my friend Heather, she is known nationwide, but like I think about my friend Heather Parody. She has a podcast, but even past the podcast, man, she builds things when it comes to communities. She's like a master community builder, right? She also has so much wisdom that she has gained and then dished right back out. And there are so many people's lives that have been changed just because people are connected to Heather. I think about people like my wife. She is the type of person that, like, she gets into a situation and she is able to figure that thing out. She is put into a place where she is a cheerleading coach, but then she has minutes with Mandy where she is pouring into these young girls. Some of them have close relationships with their families, some of them don't. And on a level playing field, she's able to give them good, solid life advice about womanhood and all kinds of different things. There are so many different people that are able to make close but small connections that end up transforming people's lives and transforming their mindsets on how life actually is from a healthy perspective. And so one of the questions that I ask is, like, do most people define themselves by their desires or design? People having mindsets that are not based on reality oftentimes find themselves in a place where they are driven by whatever feels good in the moment. There's a scripture that says, when I was a child, I thought like a child, I spoke like a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. And, I feel like we live in a society and in a culture where as we get older, because we missed out on some things, whether it was because of trauma or poverty or whatever, we go back to our childhoods to kind of like validate our childhood with only the possibility of coming back to adulthood. But in a lot of situations, we go back to that childhood and we try to validate that childhood through saying that I can define this thing as this. I can make this statement with no accountability. And it's all these things that as children, you understand that, like, even though it's unacceptable, that you can give them a pass because they're children and they're learning. But like as adults, when we're making these same types of decisions, we're defining manhood by certain ways, womanhood by these certain ways, then we still find ourselves undisciplined. We still find ourselves wounded. We still find ourselves in these cycles of things. And then instead of us coming to a place of maturity and then being able to instruct the next generation out of that maturity and out of that life experience, now we're passing on the being driven by desires, which for human flourishing purposes is not good. It's dangerous. And so then we have to ask ourselves the question of this. When it comes to manhood, does it have to do with axe throwing? Does it have to do with being able to shoot your own deer and be able to skin it and gut it and fill in the blank with all those things? There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, those are great things to learn, especially with the way that society is heading, right? But we're talking about like things that men usually do, as opposed to these things like healthy version of love, healthy character, healthy provision, healthy protection, and a balance of all of those things being in the context of community and in the context of family. And so the question that I want to pose to you and leave you with is, as you're thinking about what manhood looks like in the context of your life, it didn't look the same for everybody. But in the context of your life, would you say that most people define themselves by their desires or their design? And if they are driven by their design, what healthy things come out of that? And if they define themselves by their desires, what healthy things could come out of that and what negative things could come out of that? And so I'll try to put that on the screen. But man, that's just something that I've been thinking about a lot over this last month. Is just manhood, and I'm sure that we'll talk a little bit more about stereotypes of men and some of the beautiful things about being a man and some of the things that are challenges. And we'll continue to have that conversation and press forward and hopefully continue to provide value for you. I appreciate you guys checking in. You guys enjoy the day.